Today I'm going to be talking about presuppositional apologetics. Presuppositional apologists are often accused of arguing for God's existence in a circle. Critics of presuppositional apologetics will often assert that presuppositionalists just simply presuppose God's existence, which of course is circular. But is that what presuppositionalists actually do? Do they just engage in circular reasoning to make their case? Well, before we get into that, I do want to make the point that at this point in time, I don't consider myself to be a presuppositional apologist, but they are my brothers in Christ, and I hate to see their position misrepresented. The claim is that presuppositional apologists start from a position of already presupposing God's existence. If that's the case, then that means they're starting out with the very conclusion that they're arguing for, which of course is circular reasoning. The issue I take with this is I'm not so sure that presuppositional apologists actually argue for God's existence this way. The argument that presuppositionalists put forth is the transcendental argument. But what does the transcendental argument actually argue? Well, I can tell you that it doesn't argue that we should just start out with the presupposition that God exists. That argument would sound something like this: I presuppose God exists, therefore God exists. Now that obviously would be circular. But what the transcendental argument actually argues is that logic, morals, science, and reason ultimately presuppose a supreme being, and that God must therefore be the source of logic, morals, science, and reason. Because apart from God, we can't account for morals and logic and reason. But these things do exist, therefore God must exist. So it's not being argued that we should just presuppose God's existence, but rather what's being argued is that all of the things we use in everyday life, logic, reason, morals, science, presuppose the existence of God. Therefore, it is perfectly reasonable for us to presuppose the existence of God. Now, I must admit that the purpose of this video wasn't to defend presuppositionalism or the transcendental argument, although I may do that in another video, but the purpose of this video was to clarify what presuppositionalists actually argue.